Today's Sikha is a very special Sikha. It's a Siyum Maseches Eruvin, one of the hardest Masechtas in Shas. And the ending of the Sikha, the ending of the Maseches Eruvin, is really needs a lot of explanation, and you don't find too much Hezber explanation in the commentaries of Farshim, and the Rebbe beautifully combines it based on Nigla and Chassidus and Leshitasayu, making a shita of both, and that is the concept of the Sikha. So, on the Parasha Beshalach it says, Al Yetze Ish Min Koimoi B'Yom HaShishi. This is the third Sikha of Beshalach in Chelek Yud Aleph. Al Yetze Ish Min Koimoi B'Yom HaShivi. A person should not leave. When Hashem gave the mon, He gave instructions. There's a limit where to go out. And the Gemara says, Rashi brings down, that what is Min Koimoi, it refers to Eile Alpayim Amma, it refers to 2,000 Amos, that a person is not allowed to leave the 2,000 Amos from the city on Shabbos. Now, this is an important halacha of Eruvin, a very complex halacha, and we know that on Shabbos, in a city, you're allowed to walk within your city domain, but when you leave the city, out in fields, you only have 2,000 Amos, unless you put an Eruv Tchumen. And the Gemara brings a machlokes, and this machlokes, this argument the Gemara brings, is in the middle of the Gemara of an Eruvin Daf Nun Aleph. The Gemara brings down like this: let's say a person, Misha Hichshech, a person right before Shabbos lands out Chus L'Tchum, and he's outside the 2,000 Amos. Says the Mishnah, Lo Yikonis, he shouldn't go inside because already he is outside Tchum Shabbos, which according to many is the Raisa from the Torah. Argues Rabbi Shimon and says no, that even within Chomesh Esrei Amos, 15 Amos, Yikonis, he could go in. And Rabbi Shimon explains his reason as follows: it's not that he just allows it, because initially 15 Amos, which is an Amma is roughly 1.5 feet, they made the Tchum with a little bit of leeway for error, because people otherwise wouldn't be exactly 2,000 Amos. And he says, meaning people, it's not exactly 2,000 Amos, so within 15 Amos was probably people is still in Tchum Shabbos. And Rashi explains that in great length, how it works. And because of that reason, he allows you to go on Shabbos. But he used the word, Rishon kind of encourages. Yikonis means he should go in, or could go in. It's a kind of encouragement that you don't have to stand in the Tchum Alta Shabbos. And that's why Rav Shimon passes halacha that a person is in 15 Amos, he can go inside. Now this is the Mishnah, this is in Nodaf Aleph. Interesting, very uniquely, in the end of Eruvin, when the Mishnah is talking about something else completely, and is discussing different halachas, what about a sheretz, when you find something impure in the Beis Hamikdash, and then it throws a comment as follows in the end of Eruvin. Rabbi Shimon says like this, that wherever they allowed you, the Chachamim, it's a very, at the end of a Mishnah, the last Mishnah in Eruvin, and the Gemara explains as follows. Rabbi Shimon kind of is explaining that in a different din, when it comes to the idea of in the Beis Hamikdash, when they had to tie a harp, a string, which is broken, they didn't allow you to make a knot, only a niva, a bow. So l'chayra, if Rabbi Shimon, he kind of says, he's kind of strict, and he allows you to, he doesn't allow you making a knot. Whereas it comes to Eruvin, which is also the Raisa, here suddenly Rabbi Shimon is lenient. So the Gemara kind of puts these two reasons together and says that there, the reason is why he's lenient, because it's not really an Isser, it's your own leniency, meaning the thing was initially permissible, it's Meshalcha. Meshalcha meaning it was allowed in the first place. So meaning there's no real Isser, so that's why Shimon is lenient. And the Masha'en Kain, when it comes to the story of the Beis Hamikdash, there it was never mutter. You're talking about a shvus. You're talking about something which is a prohibition from the Torah. There we want to be much stricter, and we will not allow you to make a knot of a bow. Now, when you look at this Gemara, right away a question is raised: what is the connection? The fact that Rabbi Shimon allowed in some place in a different din, which is seemingly a very removed halacha, suddenly we have a question why, when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash, he allows a bow, not a knot. I mean, it really sounds a little bit like he could be machmir in one place, strict in one place, and lenient in the other place. So the truth is, Rashi doesn't really bring a real connection, and never quotes Rashi. However, Tosfos brings down and says as follows. He says, the Tosfos explains some kind of connection and says that it really is not a kula there, meaning is Rosh Shimon a mekel or a machmir? Is he someone who's lenient, who's strict? Tosfos says that because we want to tell you that Rabbi Shimon is not such a mekel, he's not so lenient. He's only saying it's in essence never was prohibited to walk out of the tchum because it's shulcha. And that's how Tosfos makes the connection between the two, which again, even learning the Tosfos, it needs explanation because what is the real connection between the two things? Now, the Rebbe asks, according to Rashi, first of all, what is the connection? Rashi doesn't explain even the connection between these two dinim. And even according to Tosfos, then it doesn't make sense. Tosfos is basically saying is that one place is mekel, one place is machmir. So what is the Gemara talking about shvus, which means the Gemara is saying shalai tir lacha, based on the Mishnah, shvus, there they allowed you because of a bow turning into a knot. That is l'chayra, nothing got to do with this equation of Rabbi Shimon. Meaning, Rabbi Shimon's equation is I'm leaning in one place, I'm strict in something else. What has it got to do? The fact that it's a issa daraisa and a shvus and a gzeira that you may come to make a knot, which means that we're concerned that it'll turn from something which is a little bit permissible to turn into a prohibition of making a knot. What is the connection? Which is no real connection to the two, the way Tosfos explains it. Another thing is that this Mishnah is a continuation of the beginning, which I mentioned earlier. If someone finds a sheretz, a dead bug or something which is one of the animals which create tumah, the Mishnah brings down machlokes in the beginning of the Mishnah. How should one remove it? Should one remove it with one's garment, which the garment means it will be instantly, but it'll make the garment impure? Or the second opinion brought down there is that a person should actually take pliers, something else, which will take a while to get it. However, it will not make his garments impure. And the question there is, and the debate is, what is really the priority? Is to get it out quicker, or should one use a plier or not? But how does that whole Mishnah fit into the story now, the ending of Eruvin with Rabbi Shimon? Now, some want to say you want to end with a nice area, with a nice thing, but still a question is how's this connection? Now, the Rebbe in Ois Beis starts as follows. It's interesting that Bechlal, why in general do we want to do Eruv Chatzeris and Tchumen? What is there? There is some advantage to this. And the Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch, there's a reason that a person should have Karasa la Shabbos Eidig. Shabbos should be a day of pleasure, that it should be something, so we kind of look out to make this day of Shabbos easier and workable. And that is, if a person is stuck, you can imagine, outside the Tchum Shabbos, and he doesn't have any food or any accessibility, his Shabbos is ruined. So it fits in now with the words of Rabbi Shimon, who says Yekanis. Yekanis kind of means try to go in. Why try to go in? I mean, why should a person seemingly question So that's why it says yikones, because yikones means that it's an idea that a person should try to come in. Now the question is, what is Rabbi Shimon's opinion? Why yikones? Says the Rebbe, it's much deeper than you think. It's not something you see on surface, that it's just a din by Eruvin. This is a general shitta. It's an opinion of Rabbi Shimon based on a question in the entire Shas. And that is as follows. We know there's something called quality and quantity. The question is, what is really the criteria which is we look at on Shabbos? Do we look at the majority of quantity and we minimize in quality, or the other way around, quality is the main thing? And let me explain how it's so. When a person on Shabbos is stuck the whole Shabbos, obviously in quantity outside, every minute of Shabbos he's stuck outside. There's a question on quality that he has to make one move on Shabbos and come inside, which maybe it's not even prohibited, but if you say there's a question, it's of making one move of coming into the Eruv on Shabbos. Says Rav Shimon, I have a problem of quantity, which is going to be ruin the whole Shabbos, and in every single minute of Shabbos is a problem. And it ruins, it's some kind of Isser. It's not a real prohibition, but it ruins Einik Shabbos, which is also something somebody has to look out to do. And because I want the quantity to be a strong Shabbos, I say, maybe let's deal with the quality, and it's not really prohibited. So that's why Rav Shimon allows a person to go inside. So now, based on this concept, that you explained Rav Shimon that he has an opinion, a shitta in general, now it makes sense how the Gemara connects the two things together. What is the connection? The first thing is, says Rav Shimon, that I'm allowing you. You know why? Even because you're not doing an Isser. It's yours. It's permissible because the Chachamim made initially in a way that you have a few amas leeway. Then he goes into the other thing about fixing the kinnar. Fixing the kinnar is also, think of a second. He's trying to explain, now he understands why he's apologizing on the story of kinnar. Because the story of kinnar was suddenly, let's say the knot is not prohibited because it's a shvus. A shvus in the base of Mikdash, there's no problem of a shvus, which is maybe the chomim of the Torah. You may come to a real Issa D'Oraisa. It's permissible in the base of Mikdash. So maybe just do the knot. Why are we going out of our way to create an aniva, a bow, which really takes much more time and much more effort and will ruin the quality of Shabbos on tying the aniva? And if I hold that quantity is a problem, just go make the knot. Says Rosh Hashanah is a different reason. And that's what he explains. There it's a shvus. It's a shvus. When it comes to a shvus, which is maybe will come to a real prohibition of making a knot, I got to be stringent. But here, it's really mutter in the first place. So when it's mutter in the first place and it's a lower level, then I look for the quantity. But if it's a much stricter Isser, then I will not say go for the quantity, because the problem of having a shvus that you'll do a knot in the base of Mikdash and actually tie something is much stricter and much more complicated for me than actually going out of the tchum. Than making a aniva, making a bow. And that's how the Rebbe explains it beautifully, the connection between the two opinions. And it's interesting, the Alter Rebbe in Shulchan Aruch, you find a similar concept to that he explains, he brings the Alter Rebbe as a proof that it's only we will go with a svara of quantity versus quality with his shitta when it comes to two isurim on the same level. But if one of them is much more severe, and like example in our case, but it's shvus or making a knot, I wouldn't use this philosophy of looking quantity over quality. Where do you find that? You find that a person, we know that you should not when a person comes to Shabbos and there's a question of eating nevela or doing shchita, what do we tell the person? We say, chayla, a person who's in danger and he needs shechted meat. We don't say eat nevela. And we show me mechal Shabbos shechting. We'd rather do one time the issa and not ruin the quantity of the whole Shabbos of eating nevela. Every bite you're eating non-kosher meat. One time you did it for Chodesh Sakana, which is mutter, which is in a way similar, like one time doing the issa. However, he says the Alter Rebbe, if you have to cook wine, which wine really is the Rabbanon, they're ready. I don't say to the person, you shouldn't have the guy cook the wine, and this way it's the guy should cook it. If the guy cooks it, he's creating a real isser on the guy cooking it, and